I'm excited to share 3 stories of MSPs who made a massive transformation in their company. So I'm going to share before where they were, where they got to, and how they did it. And you can rob and steal these. You don't even need our product at TopLeft for this. And so I'm Wim Kerkhoff, founder of TopLeft, as well as 2 MSPs here in Canada, Improving IT and Crafty Penguins. So these are things we've done as well. Common pain points that I see with MSPs, and I've talked to hundreds of MSPs. People are crazy busy. Technicians are overloaded. Lots of admin time, lots of dispatching and coordination, service management, project management, and still people feel in the dark and building all these reports, trying to communicate. Battling time entries and getting just the correct status and notes and next steps on tickets. Backlogs, project and service, just stuff taking forever to get done. Silo teams, people not working together, or it gets thrown over to the next person without enough notes and not setting up other people to win on it. It goes back and forth between teams and individuals, gets started, gets paused, gets restarted. So I'm going to, first client story I'm going to share is Steve Psaradellis from TEBA in Australia. So his projects were running 30% over on average. And by the way, all 3 clients have presented 1-hour presentations on this, and they're up on the website and on YouTube. So Steve goes into this for an hour with his numbers, so I'll share those. They were running 30% late on average. So some were on time, but some were very late, like maybe double. And I was there as well on my MSP. Scope creep on projects. Technicians would do more work than what he had sold. They considered Salesforce, but that was a ton of money to switch away from ConnectWise. So they decided to double down on ConnectWise. How did he do that? 3 main things, and there's more. But TOC was just theory of constraints, looking at bottlenecks, managing work in progress, and Kanban to visualize it. So he optimized bottleneck person's time, and we all have a bottleneck. It's like the character from the Phoenix Project book. I highly recommend. His name is Brent. Senior tech, he'd been there like 10 years. So people always went to him, a lot of escalations. So optimizing that, trying to get work away from him, visualize what he is doing, and support him to do only what Brent could do, and training other people. Aggregated task buffers, I've got a picture on that, but often when we schedule projects and estimate work, we ask the engineer doing the work, how long is this going to take? In his mind, he thinks, install Windows on the server, it's an hour. There's some other stuff I got to do too, but something always goes weird, so let's double it. So he says 4. Goes to the project manager, and they're like, it always takes longer. So he adds another 25 or 50%, and now ends up being like 6 or 7 hours. So what Steve did is took away all those buffers, and so just got back to the task, do them back to back, and then left a buffer at the end of the project. The problem with having a buffer per task is that work expands to fill that time available, just like stuff in our closets. So basically cutting the fat that way and avoiding student syndrome. And gold plating. Gold plating is, well, like a gold plated laptop. It's useless. Maybe Trump wants one, but doesn't help the user at all. So it's waste. Looks nice, it's polished, but unrequired. So reducing scope creep, to be really clear on that, and avoiding that student syndrome, because if you've got lots of time, you end up kind of using it and doing it last minute anyways. He limited the work in progress across his portfolio to 5 projects that have been started and not completed. So not allowed to start number 6 until one of the 5 is done. And so again, focusing on, he stopped starting and start finishing. Key slogan there. And he visualizes work with a Kanban board. Again, he did that with TopLeft, formerly CW Kanban, but you can do this within the PSAs. They do have some features for this now. You could use a Trello or Microsoft Planner. So multitasking, as he gives this graphic in his presentation, is typically when we're doing projects, we got so many going on, is that we're moving between all these projects. So with this visual, you can see you're going between ABC, ABC, ABC across a month or more, and it's taking project A at least 35 days. So he's like, do all the project A's, and then the B's, and then the C's. Your A will be done way earlier, your B quite a bit earlier as well, and C no later than it is now. Then he's like, okay, collapse your buffers. So now you end up and reducing the multitasking, which is a 20% overload. So you end up being like half the time, which is where he got to. So he just used a 50% rule as a project buffer. And then obviously avoid using that and by unblocking the work and keeping it going. What were his results? Well, here's this grab from his slide deck. They were completing an average of 130%, and he got it down, basically 58% improvement. Improved the team morale and the ownership, skilled capacity without hiring. I'm going to go right into Tennille. So she presented as well a webinar called the Dispatch Eliminator webinar. So they had started 180 tickets open, a full-time dispatcher, just playing the giant game of Tetris, and underutilized talent. The dispatcher wouldn't give more complex tickets to the junior tech. So he ended up kind of twiddling his thumbs and not really elevating. And they held him back. Uneven workloads. So the senior techs were busy, even though junior talent had the capacity and the willingness to learn. And they had all the reports and metrics, but it didn't help them. They were kind of blind that there was more performance available. So how? Well, let's stop playing that giant game of Tetris, namely the calendar. So first, she trained the leadership team on how this would work, what she proposed with Agile and a pull-based flow, and educated the team on how this would work and benefit them. And they were willing to commit and try it out. So they empowered the technicians to grab tickets as they were available. So when they were done a ticket, grab the next one that's available from the top of the stack, the most important ticket, and work on it. They visualized it with Kanban. They shifted work from senior to junior techs. The junior techs could grab the unassigned ticket and say, hey, I haven't done this before. Can you help me, point me to, here's what I think I'm going to do. Is that right? And basically get some mentoring to make sure it was safe and wouldn't blow up. And they learned and elevated and could take on more work. And she got daily huddles going where you look at tickets on a board like this and see what's stuck and what's not moving. It's like sticky notes on a physical Kanban. And with this example, there's a swim lane by person. So, and you set some rules. So Alice has 2 tickets. She cannot start new work. Bob is okay to start new work. And the unassigned, you can see there's 3 tickets that they could pull from once their existing tickets are done. So this is a pull-based flow. So her results, well, she doubled revenue. Ticket count dropped 50%, eliminated that dispatcher role, increased time utilization by double in some cases. Not everyone, but some people they doubled. The time tracking and billables, promoted a junior technician, and because they freed up the capacity, they could take on more clients. So they went and hired a salesperson. On to Scott. He had been like single-digit net profit, which is where far too many MSPs are. And he's up to 22% net profit now, even more. That was back in April. So he shared a story as well, a 1-hour webinar. Scott Taylor. And so before, they had a crushing backlog. It was huge, monster, 300 open tickets, couldn't get their arms around it. Again, low net profit. Customer satisfaction score was stuck in that 70 to 80% range. And team siloed, reactive, overwhelmed, burning out. Technicians were cherry picking tickets and just doing what they wanted. So even though they had 2 dispatchers, there's still cherry picking going on. And the leaders were firefighting and babysitting instead of leading. And so how did he do that? With agile thinking. So he committed to that, educating. He dug into the resources that we shared. And so he was able to phase out 2 dispatchers. And he introduced Kanban to visualize work, added daily stand-ups, cross-trained the team so others could do work. And so really, it's a real pull-based flow. And so people could do more than one job. And driving ownership. So having the technicians own the work and pull the tickets to completion. His results, can EBITDA over 22%. Open tickets, 300 down to 15. He right-sized the team, Went from, I think it was something like 25 down to 15. Clients are now saying, you respond too fast, which is huge, just funny. CSAT near 100%, zero client churn in 2 years. What all three had in common, and they committed to a long-term transformation with Agile, with incremental improvement. They stopped pushing the work, they started pulling. They made the work visible with Kanban. They limited work in progress, and they empowered people and simplified workflows. So again, 2 books I highly recommend is The Phoenix Project, which gets into bottlenecks and a bit of Kanban, and then Making Work Visible. So I highly recommend that book. That's why I've got both on my back wall here, and given out many copies of that. So check those out. If you want to take a look at TopLeft, book a demo, link is in the description, and obviously up on the website.